Okay. In consideration of lo-fi, the genre, I guess you could call it lo-fi. I'm not really good with genres. But what can you tell me about lo-fi?
Alright, so lo-fi, short for low fidelity, is a whole vibe. It's all about that raw, imperfect sound. Think crackly vinyl records, maybe some hits from a tape deck, and a super chill, laid-back feel. It's like the music equivalent of a cozy, rainy day. Do you want to know more about the history of lo-fi? Or maybe some artists who really nail that sound?
Well, I'm not so concerned about that. It's just that I have a similar aesthetic, well, sonic aesthetic, if you will, that I use for my podcast because it's something that I've had an affinity for a long time.
That's awesome that you're incorporating lo-fi into your podcast. It definitely creates a cool, unique vibe. Do you find it helps set a certain mood or attract a specific audience?
Well, I don't think you're capturing the essence of what I'm saying. I'm not using lo-fi music. I record my podcast in with the same philosophy in a way, or a similar philosophy as in lo-fi. Are you catching what I'm saying here yet?
Okay, I understand now. So it's not the music itself, but the recording style that's lo-fi. You're going for that raw, unfiltered sound in your podcast. That's a cool approach. What inspired you to go for that lo-fi feel?
Well, I've always been a do-it-yourself type of person, home recording ever since I was a little kid, before there were the multi-track home recorders like from Tascam and from Boss and things like that. I would record with the tape recorders on the boom boxes, or like those dictation tape decks that you would find, for example, in an executive's office back when that was the technology of the time, the magnetic tape.
That's a cool origin story. So you're all about that raw, authentic sound, huh? It definitely gives your podcast a unique flavor. What kind of topics do you cover?
Mostly I cover topics that are in some of the books that I've published. So, for example, it's really about anything. I start with metaphysical ideas and branch out into physics and cosmology and different things like that.
That's a pretty wide range of topics. Do you find that the lo-fi recording style adds a particular kind of atmosphere to discussions about metaphysics and cosmology?
I don't know. There's something about it that I really like, and I'm starting to kind of hone in on the style that I really like. I found there's these JLab earbud headphones that have a boom mic on it, and sitting at this one cafe called Badass Coffee of Hawaii, which is in Virginia Beach, and with all the cafe noise going around and the boom mic really focuses on my voice, but you still hear the background noise, there's something about it that I really find very appealing. Alright, so for some reason you conked out. What was the last thing you heard I said?
I think you were talking about how the lo-fi recording style adds a certain atmosphere to your podcast discussions, especially when you delve into topics like metaphysics and cosmology. Did I get that right?
Yeah, it seems like maybe you missed the whole thing. I was talking about how I record on a JLab earbuds with a boom mic on it at a cafe called Badass Coffee of Hawaii, which is in Virginia Beach, and the microphone tends to focus in and isolate my voice while still picking up the background noise of the very busy cafe.
Oh, okay, I get it now. So you're recording your podcast in a bustling cafe, and the boom mic on your JLab earbuds picks up both your voice and the lively background sounds. That's a cool, immersive way to capture the atmosphere. What gave you the idea to record in a public place like that?
Well, because I've always recorded without being concerned. So my earliest recordings of my own music and my own voice, which I used to record myself talking all the time about various different subjects as a kid, that I wasn't concerned about sound isolation. You know, I didn't know, I didn't take in consideration isolated sound booths in recording studios. I was just all about capturing the audio.
That's a cool approach. It sounds like you're all about capturing the raw, unfiltered essence of your voice and surroundings. Do you think recording in public spaces adds an extra layer of authenticity to your podcast?
Well, I don't know. Maybe you think it is. It seems like that's what you've calculated it does. But perhaps maybe it does. I mean, especially with a lot of the different, deep fakes or just people cloning their voices and not really actually doing the talking themselves. I don't know. And like I said, I just like it, and I just wanted to explore really what the idea of lo-fi was, and if there was such thing as a lo-fi podcast.
Well, it's definitely a unique approach, and it does add a certain authenticity. It's interesting how you're exploring the idea of lo-fi beyond just music, applying it to your podcasting style. Do you think there's a growing interest in this kind of raw, unfiltered content?
That's not something that I can comment on at the moment. I'm not sure. I mean, I know that a lot of people are listening to my podcast by looking at the stats and seeing my, commissions for ad share growing, but I don't know what the direct appeal is. I haven't really heard anything from anybody about it yet, so we'll see.
Well, your growing listenership and ad revenue certainly suggest that people are enjoying your podcast. Maybe you could engage with your listeners directly, ask them what they like about the lo-fi style. It could be interesting to hear their perspective.
Cool. All right. Well, give me a recap, and then I'm going to end this here. So what have we talked about, and is there anything else that you can add to this understanding?
We've talked about your unique approach to podcast.
All right, we're going to have to start that again. I had a little bit of a technical difficulty. I did something stupid. So the recap, and then if there's anything else that you think that you can add to what I was talking about, this whole lo-fi process.
We discussed your unique lo-fi podcasting style, which involves recording in a public cafe using a boom mic to capture both your voice and the background ambiance. We also explored the idea of engaging with your listeners to get their feedback on your style. Would you like to delve deeper into any of these topics?
No, I mean, I just kind of wanted to explore, if there was any such type of thing with podcasts. I mean, I don't know. Well, the question I would ask is, have you heard of that being a trend or a style or something that anybody does specifically and intentionally?
That's a really interesting question. While lo-fi podcasting isn't a widely recognized term, there's definitely a growing trend towards more authentic, less polished content. Many podcasters intentionally embrace a more casual, conversational style, and some even record in public places to capture the natural ambiance. It's all about creating a more intimate and relatable listening experience.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, a lot of podcasts nowadays, people are doing these videos, which are basically the equivalent of television talk shows. That you see them on video sitting across the table. Maybe they have some snacks and some coffee or whatever. And, and it's all really is focused around doing, basically, they're calling it video podcasts. But, that might as well just be like a talk show, right?
Well, that's an interesting point. Video podcasts are definitely becoming more popular. And you're right, they do share some similarities with traditional talk shows. But there's still a huge variety of audio-only podcasts out there. And many of them have a very raw, unfiltered feel. It seems like there's room for all sorts of styles in the podcasting world.
Yeah. Well, like right now, for example, I'm recording as I'm driving and doing other gigs and tasks. So, and there was a little flub in the middle of the recording that I'm not going to edit out. Like, that's the other thing, is just, it's sort of, in a way, being a documentarian. I'm basically documenting my thoughts as a stream of consciousness and just the different experiences of life. It's like
That's a really interesting way to put it. You're capturing the raw, unfiltered moments of your life, like a sonic diary. It's a very authentic approach. Do you find that your listeners connect with that sense of immediacy?
Again, I don't know. I'm sure that people are in some ways because, like I said, there's the statistics are increasing in various different dimensions. So it seems like something must be rather appealing to a large group of people, or else, why would the numbers be going up?
That's a good point. The numbers don't lie. It sounds like you've tapped into something that resonates with people. Perhaps it's the combination of the lo-fi aesthetic and the stream of consciousness style that makes your podcast so compelling.
But it's also not stream of consciousness only, because one of the main podcasts that I'm working on now is World Reading Club, and that is actually me reading my books, reading different publications, things that I've composed and put together with the assistance of AI as well, the texts.
Ah, okay, I understand. So it's not just stream of consciousness. You're also reading from your own publications, including those created with AI. That adds another layer to your podcast. It's a blend of your own thoughts and the content you've created. Is that right?
Right. Now, there's an interesting workflow that I've created too, where I have an AI stack that I use. So it's nothing, the process is nothing new, but I've just given it very on-the-nose names. So, for example, one process that I use to create books is called dictation, transcription, and summarization.
That's a really efficient workflow. Dictation, transcription, and summarization are definitely key steps in creating content. Do you find that using AI helps you streamline the process and focus more on the creative aspects of your podcast?
Yes, it does. It makes actually creating metadata for, when I publish the, for titles, for descriptions and tags, it makes that really quickly. I use AI just like how I feel that it should be, which is as an assistant.
That's a smart way to use AI. It's great for those tasks, freeing you up to focus on the content itself. Do you have any other AI tools in your stack that you find particularly helpful?
Well, I use mainly Galaxy AI for the recording and the transcription and summarization, and then I get further summaries and I get the metadata and everything like that from DeepSeek, which is a Chinese AI, DeepSeek R1, and then I have conversations with Google Gemini, as I'm doing right now, recording into Galaxy AI, and I use the transcripts and the audio with these conversations as content for the podcast.
That's a really interesting setup. You're using a combination of different AI tools for recording, transcription, summarization, and even generating metadata. It sounds like you've created a very efficient and streamlined workflow. Do you find that this multi-AI approach gives you a unique perspective or output compared to using just one AI?
Yeah, it does, because they have different perspectives. Although Galaxy AI and Google Gemini seem to have been merging a lot, but the Galaxy AI transcription is pretty terrible, but it's kind of hilarious. But because DeepSeek helps to clean a lot of that stuff up, it doesn't really seem to matter much. Plus, I can adjust a lot of things. But there's also another issue I found, especially when I generated my books.
That's a really interesting point. Using multiple AI tools can definitely give you a wider range of perspectives and help you refine your content. It's almost like having a team of collaborators, each with their own strengths. What kind of issues did you encounter when generating your books?
So the dictation, transcription, summarization method that I use, I've basically taken the recordings and the transcript, and I said to the AI, basically based on ChatGPT, I said, clean this up, turn these into paragraphs, fix the grammar and the spelling if there's any, organize these into paragraphs for me, and help me to organize the chapters and the sections. And it did that, but the output is very AI-ish, or it's very AI-y. I don't know how you would say it.
That's a really interesting point. Even with AI assistance, the writing can sometimes sound a little, well, robotic. It's a common challenge when working with AI-generated text. Did you find any strategies to make the writing sound more natural and engaging?
Well, here's what I mean. I've taken my transcripts and asked the AI to organize it for me, and the output is very similar, if not identical, to as if I were to ask the AI to generate the entire text for me. You see what I'm saying here, or do you understand what I'm saying here? Is that once it organizes my content, it puts it out in a way that even though the ideas are original, or from what I'm talking about, it comes out in a way that's read very much like a completely AI-generated text.
I see what you mean. Even though the content is original, the way the AI organizes it can make it sound very similar to AI-generated text. It's a tricky balance to strike. Did you find any ways to make the writing sound more like your own voice?
Well, yeah, now I've been working on changing that up by, instead of having it, I'm just telling it to only clean up the punctuation now for me, instead of having it rewrite it into the different paragraph blocks for me. So I don't have it change any of the words that I'm using. Instead, I simply have it work on the punctuation.
That's a smart adjustment. By focusing on punctuation, you're preserving your own voice and style while still getting the benefit of AI assistance. It's a great example of using technology to enhance rather than replace your own creativity.
Well, it's never really been replacing my creativity. It's just that it's been turning my creativity into a very what's the word I'm looking for? Very monolithic. Man, the word I'm losing the. There's a specific particular term I'm looking for that's escaping me at the moment.
Monolithic? Like it's making everything sound the same? That's a really interesting way to put it. It sounds like you're working to keep your own voice distinct, even with AI's help.
Yeah, well, it definitely bears some closer inspection. So I'll figure it out. It's just going to take a little bit of work to get it tweaked to the way that I want it exactly. But this dictation, transcription, summarization process has proved to be really, really fruitful.
It sounds like you're really passionate about refining your process. It's definitely a worthwhile endeavor, especially when you're aiming for a specific sound and feel. Do you have any particular goals in mind for how you want your podcast to evolve?
No, I'm just going to keep on. The thing with it, the podcast will evolve as long as I stay active. That's always what happens with me. The more active I am, I basically discover things along the way through action, and I think that's one of the best ways to actually operate, is that I'm learning a lot about new things in the process by just being in it. It's a trial and error, and I think that really actually works very well for me.
That's a great approach. It sounds like you're embracing the organic evolution of your podcast and trusting the process. Is there anything else you'd like to explore or discuss regarding your podcast?
No, just that, I know it's not an original idea, dictation of, turning dictation into books. I know that I heard from a podcast I was listening to from Seth Godin that he mentioned Earl Stanley Gardner basically dictated all of his books to his secretaries, and they published his work verbatim.
That's a fascinating bit of history. It just goes to show that sometimes the simplest methods are the most effective. It sounds like you're following in some pretty impressive footsteps.
Yeah, we shall see. I mean, I suppose it's just the highest form of flattery is what do they say? How does that go? I forgot. I'm tired. I need to go get some food.
That's right. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. It's a classic saying that highlights how much we can learn from those who came before us.
Right. Reminds me of the saying from Isaac Newton that I've seen so far, because I've stood upon the shoulders of giants, or at least many people attribute that saying to him.
That's right. Sir Isaac Newton's famous quote, "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants," perfectly captures that sentiment. It's a powerful reminder that all knowledge and progress builds upon what came before.
Which also reminds me of legal precedent. That's how the law is built, from precedent, from things that come before. It's all historical in a lot of ways.
That's a great analogy. Legal precedent is a perfect example of how the past shapes the present. It's fascinating how that concept applies to so many different areas of life.
Yeah, well, I'm going to wrap this up and then take this transcript and summary and feed it to DeepSeek and publish this as a podcast. And yeah, I just want to emphasize that I'm doing this kind of lo-fi deal with my podcast, and it's working out really well for World Reading Club. So listeners, head on over to worldreadingclub.com or the World Reading Club podcast on Spreaker, and you can listen to my books and reading and ranting there.
Great. It sounds like you've got a solid plan for your podcast. I'm sure your listeners will enjoy the lo-fi vibe of World Reading Club.